This is my game plan to change the 3200 watt Predator so it runs on 120 volts only, but I get the full 26 amps out at 120 volts. Okay, I've got the end bell off here, and right now the way this is wired is that this is one 110 volt coil, this is the other one that's 110, 120. They add together to be 230. You've got 13 amps and 120 volts here, 13 amps and 120 volts here. Each one of these is off a different coil, and they add together so you've got 230, 240 volts across 220. And what I want to do is convert this to be only 110 volts only at the full 26 amps. Right now on here you've got 120 volts across this, 120 across this, and the two whites in the center are back basically connected together back at the sockets on here, on the 110 volt ones. Okay, if I undo this and swap the two around, now I've got the black to the white to the black. And such what happens on here is the output on this, the top coil I haven't messed with, the output here and here, instead of being added together to 220, 230, I want to put these two in parallel. So by swapping these two around, now the white wire is connected to the black through the circuit breaker. So now when it runs, these two circuit breakers, the outputs of either one are in phase. And so I can get the full 26 amps out at 120 volts. But on this socket here, the way it's wired is I need to go through and move one of these wires over so they're added together. So what I've done is I've undone this red wire on the 220 volt side, and I'm going to undo it and connect it over here. And that is such the black and the red are in parallel. And what that does is that's going to put both circuit breakers in parallel, and so you're going to get the 26 amps out at 120 volts. And this one connector here is abandoned. So this is the neutral, and you've got two hots connected together, so you're going to get the full 26 amps out at 120 volts. And you could change this connector over to probably be a more proper one, but this is a 30 amp connector. It's just that right now this is not used, so you have to be careful what you're using this for. But this is a neutral. This is one of the hots that's going to be 26 amps at 120 volts. And when you connect this together here, it basically is connecting these two together in parallel. So right now what you'll have is you'll have 26 amps out max before it pops, which these are 20 amp circuits, so that isn't necessarily kosher right there. But the plan on this is to use this for RV use. Connect this over here. Now there's another way you could do this, is you could put a switch on the front here, a double pole switch, double pole, double throw, and swap this back and forth such you've got 120, 230. And you could drill a hole through the panel here and then tap in and have it so you switch back and forth on that. Anyways, that's the game plan. I haven't tried it out yet, but just want to give it some thought. One of the other generators does this, the Duramax, so I was going to convert this one over. It does the same thing to where they're in parallel. With the switch, you move back and forth. I've got a video on that. And it comes stock with that, so this is not anything that's really earth-shattering. It's just that the Predator 3200 watt one here is such that if you hook a skill saw or something on here, it tends to pop the breaker real easy because you can only get 13 amps out. So this 3200 running is really 1600 out of this one socket. That's all you can get out on 120 volts off one device. And so if you try to start a motor, it tends to pop. So the idea is to go through and swap these two around so I get the coils in phase, and then go ahead and move this wire over to here, so you got the all the outputs going through one of these. And to get this out here, I didn't have to butcher this because these lugs here are actually into the panel. You just go ahead and go behind here with a metric wrench. This is a 7mm wrench. Most of this stuff is metric. Of course, these breakers on here, they're 13 amp. So when you get it in parallel, it's 26. That's the Predator 69729. Got the end bell off. This is a fairly typical configuration on here. You got the AVR on here. The AVR is actually probably only looking at one side of one of these coils right now.